If anybody has any prayer requests, you can put it in the comment section and I'll pray over it. There is a prayer request that I was requested to pray for about a few minutes ago, and I'll put it in the the comment section so y'all can pray for it. This message is on Paul, part 4. To refresh your memory, we ended part 3 with Paul preaching in Athens. I will put the 1, 2, and 3 in the comment section in case you missed it. Paul, part 4. After they left Athens, they came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded Jews to leave Rome. And came unto them, and because he was of the same craft, he abode with them, and wrought, for by their occupation they were tent makers. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath, and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. And when Silas and Timothy were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in his spirit, and testified to the Jews that Jesus is the Christ. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment. I think that Paul sinned by doing this. Although Jesus told them to shake the dust off, I do not think that he meant to do it literally. And the reason for that is, think of the language in that part of the world, what shaking the dust off means if somebody were to do it. It's equivalent to in the United States if someone were to throw up the middle finger. Keep in mind also, just because someone in the Bible, like Paul or Peter or Samuel or one of them, does something, it don't necessarily mean that they was right in doing it. I mean, Elisha at one point called the bears to eat kids. But it wasn't Jesus that did it. If it was Jesus doing it, it would be a different story. Because Jesus was perfect. No one else is. And said unto them, Your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean henceforth. I will go unto the Gentiles. And he departed. Thence and entered into a certain man's house named Certus, one that worshiped God, whose house joined hard to the synagogue. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing these names right, by the way. Believed on the Lord with all his heart, with all his house. And many of the Corinthians, hearing, believed and were baptized. Then spoke the Lord to Paul in the night by vision, be not afraid. This is the Lord speaking to Paul. He tells him, be not afraid. But speak, and hold not thy peace, for I am with thee, and no man shall set upon thee to hurt thee. For I have much people in this city. For a year and a half, Paul had no problems. Then they brought Paul before Gallio, the governor of Achaia, saying, this fellow persuadeth men to worship God contrary to the law. And when Paul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said unto the Jews, if it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O you Jews, reason would that I should bear with you. But if it be a question of words and names and of your own law, look ye to it. For I will be no judge of such matters. What he was telling them here, you're coming to me saying that he broke your law. But he didn't break our law. He didn't break Roman law. He broke Jewish law, if he broke anything. So, settle it yourself. That's what he was telling them. Then the Greeks took Suetonius, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat, and Gallio cared for none of these things. God used Paul for many miracles. At one point, the sick were given handkerchiefs that Paul had worn so that they could be healed. This is why we use prayer cloths. One point, 7 sons of Sceva were trying to cast out demons by saying, in the name of Jesus, whom Paul preaches, I command you to come out. The evil spirit answered, Jesus I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye? And attacked them. See, they didn't know Jesus. They was trying to cast him out through Paul knowing Jesus. We have to know Jesus for ourselves. Meanwhile, idol makers started trouble with Paul. One instance is with a silversmith named Demetrius, who started a union to protest against Paul's preaching against idol worship. Acts chapter 19. Verse 23. And the same time there arose no small stir about that way. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen. whom he called together with the workmen of like occupation, and said, Sirs, ye know that by this craft we have our wealth. Moreover, ye see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, this Paul has persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be no gods which are made with hands. So that not only this our craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worshipeth. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath, and cry out, saying, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. And the whole city was filled with confusion. And having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. And when Paul would have entered in unto the people, the disciples suffered him not. And certain of the chiefs of Asia, which were his friends, sent unto him, desiring him that he would not adventure himself into the theater. Some therefore cried one thing, and some another, for the assembly was confused, and the more part knew not wherefore they were come together. There was a lot of them that didn't even know why they was there. And they drew Alexander out of the multitude, the Jews putting him forward, and Alexander beckoned with the hand, and whom have made his defense, would have made his defense unto the people. But when they knew that he was a Jew, all with one voice about the space of 2 hours cried out, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. And when the town clerk had appeased the people, he said, Ye men of Ephesus, what man is there that knoweth not how that the city of Ephesus is a worshipper of the great goddess Diana, and of the image which fell down from Jupiter? Saying then that these things cannot be spoken against, ye ought to be quiet, and to do nothing rashly. For ye have brought hither these men, which are neither robbers of churches, nor yet blasphemers of your goddess. Wherefore, if Demetrius and the craftsmen which are with him have a matter against any man, the law is open, and their deputies. Let them and plead one another. But if ye inquire any such concerning other matters, it shall be determined in a lawful assembly. But we are in danger to be called in question for this day's uproar, there being no cause whereby we may give account of this concourse. And when he had thus spoken, he dismissed assembly. Another verse speaking of this is 2 Timothy 4, verse 14. Paul speaks of another instance where the idol makers got upset and started trouble. Second Timothy chapter 4, verse 14. Alexander, this is Paul speaking here. Alexander the coppersmith did me much evil. The Lord reward him according to his works. So there, he's having trouble with a coppersmith named Alexander. Later, Paul went to Troas for 7 days. And upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart the morrow, and continued his speech until midnight. Some have said that the Lord's Supper should only be taken on the first day of the week. But the Bible never said to only take it on the first day of the week. It said take it often. It just so happens that this time it was the first day of the week when they took it. Sometimes they even took it every day. And there were many lights in the upper chambers where they were gathered together. And there sat in the window a certain man named Eutychus. Being fallen into a deep sleep, as Paul was long preaching, he sunk down with sleep and fell down from the third loft, and was taken up dead. And Paul went down and fell on him and embraced him, saying, Trouble not yourselves, for his life is in him. When he therefore was come up again and had broken bread, Eutychus came back alive, other words. That's what happened. When he come up again and had broken bread and eaten and talked a long while, even to the break of day, so he departed. Now today, there are many who are always in a hurry to get out of church. They want it to be short. But look at it here. Paul preached all night. So he wasn't short about it. You cannot put God on a time clock. That's the end of part 4.